Hey coders, welcome to the channel. So today we are going to make a tic-tac-toe game with Python, and this game will be a console version of the game. So without wasting any time, let's get started. And now our PyCharm is opening, and it's opening a project that I have already made. So let's close the project, and here we are inside the PyCharm window. So let's click on new project. It's creating a new project. Let's name this project to Tic-Tac-Toe Demo. Now this project is being created, and here we are inside of a project, and now we will create a new Python file. So to create a new Python file, right click on the project name and click on new file and click on Python file. So this will create our new file, and now our new Python file is created. Now let's get started making our tic-tac-toe game. So to make the tic-tac-toe game, we will first need a variable that will hold the position of the board. So let's make a variable board equals list. So this will be a list which will be contain 9 elements, which will tell us that whether that position is empty or it is occupied by a piece. So we'll make the place empty by default. So this dash means that that particular position is empty. So let's quickly fill this up and move it to the next line for ease of understanding. Yeah, so we have created our board variable. So now we have to display our board variable to the user. So let's try to print this board variable and let's run the code, and it is printing all the elements in a single line, and we don't want that. We want that it should print these 3 elements in the first line and 3 in the second and 3 in the last line. So to do that, let me remove this statement here, and we will make a function. Let's name this function show board, and what this function will do, it will print the board as we want. So first statement will be print, and this statement will print the first 3 elements of the board. So to do so, we will write board, and we will use the index 0, and then we will print board at the index number 1, and then we will print board at the index number 2. And what this full statement is doing, it is that it is printing the first 3 elements in the list in the first line, and for the second and the third line, let's copy this statement and paste it here and paste it here again. And now we just need to edit the index numbers. Let's do this quickly, not for and this also. So now our method is complete. So now let's try this method. So we have to call showboard, and let's run the code, and yes, it is printing all the elements line by line, 3 in the first, 3 in the second, and 3 in the last line. And we are completed till now, and let's remove this. And now what we have to do is that we will make a game loop. So let's print true, and in this game loop we will first show the board. So to show the board, we will call the showboard method, and then we want the user to enter some chance. So we will make a method which name is take chance. This method is not defined yet, so let's define this method. So let's minimize that showboard, and let's define take chance. So what this method needs to do is it will take an input from the user, and according to that input it will make changes to the board. So first we will take an input from the user, and for the input we will need a variable. So let's name the variable value equals input, and let's print a message here, enter numbers from 1 to 9. So it is asking the user to enter numbers from 1 to 9, and now what we need to do is that we will have to convert this value variable to integer, as this input method always returns a string value whether the user has entered an integer or string, it doesn't matter. So let's convert this value to integer. So we will say value equals int value. So it is changing the type of variable value to integer, so we cannot do directly. So we will add a try block, and we will check that if it is possible to convert this value to integer. in the case that the user has entered a string instead of an integer. So this will not be possible. So in this case the accept block will be executed. So in the accept block, what we have to do is that we will ask the user again for the input. So how can we ask the user for the input? We will call the method inside from itself. So we can say take chance, and it's completed here. Now here we have got a complete integer. So let's check whether this integer is really from 1 to 9 as we have asked it from the user. So let's say if value in range 1 comma 10. So what the statement is doing, it is checking that if this value, this integer is from 1 to 9. We have written this 10 because in range we use +1 in the second argument. So if it is so, then we will again check that if the position that the user has choose to place its piece is empty or not. So to do so, we will write the statement if board value, and the user will enter integers from 1 to 9, but in the indexing we use numbers starting from 0, so we will have to subtract 1 from it. So if the user has entered 1, so here it will be referenced as 0. So board add the index number 0. If board add the index number value minus 1 equals uh, we have referenced dash as empty space, and so what this is doing, not equal equals. So if this is true, means if that space is empty, what we will do is we will edit the board and make that position occupied by the current player. So board value -1 equals, now we will have to define a variable to keep track of whose chance is it. So let's define a variable at the top. Let's bring this down and let's make a variable chance equals, as it's x chance always first, and next we'll make a variable named next chance and it is equals to O. And now here we will pass chance, and after a player has made their chance, means we have to change the chance and give the other player their chance. So what we can do is that we can swap these two variables. So the chance will become O and next chance will become X. So to swap these variables, we will have to write the statement chance comma next chance is equals to next chance comma chance, and it is giving us an error because these variables are global variables and we are trying to edit these inside a method, so we cannot do this directly. So we have to write a statement global, and here we will pass chance comma next chance. So what this statement will do, it will make these variables global and enable its editing inside the method. So this method is approximately done. And one more thing, if the value entered by the user is not empty in the board, or if the value is not in range 1 or 10, means it's greater than 9 or it's smaller than 1, then for that we have to add a else statement for each of these statements, and in the else statement we will ask the user again for the input. So to do so, we will call this method again. So take chance here and call take chance there also. So now our take chance method is also completed. So now it's been called, and let's execute the code. Zoom it a little bit. It is asking for a number from 1 to 9. Let's print 1, 2. Yeah, so it is taking chances. So our code is working, and now let's minimize it. What we have to do is that we have to check draw. So let's check draw. So what this method should do is it should check whether it's a draw or the game still is going on. So to do so, let's make a variable and name it check draw, and inside this variable, when it's a draw in tic-tac-toe, it's a draw in tic-tac-toe when there is no empty space available. So to write that in code, we will add a statement if, as we have referenced before, the dash as empty space, not in board. So this block of code will execute if there is no empty space in the board variable left. So means it's a draw. So when it's a draw, I want to show the board to the user. First show the board, and then I want to print a message, and that message should be match drawn. So this message will be passed to the user, and after that I want to quit out of the code. So we will write a code quit. So what this quit statement does here, it closes the program. So our check draw method is also completed. So let's try this out. Run the program, zoom a little bit, and let's try to fill up the board quickly. 1 2 3 4, and this board is filled up and it shows me match draw. So this is working, and now the last thing we have to do is that we have to make one more method, and that method should be check win. It is very necessary to check winning of the player, and we will call this method here also check win. And what we will do inside this method is I will create a list, and this list name will be winning pose. You just follow me and I will explain you what I am doing afterwards. Let's give it a space and let's just copy it what I am doing. 3 3, 5, 7. So what are these values? So this is a big list named winning positions, and it contains these 8 lists, and each list contains these 3 values. So what are these values? Let me tell you that in a tic-tac-toe board, if the first position and the second position and the third position in the board are filled up by a particular player, then it's a win for that player. And the same for this, if the fourth position and the fifth position and the sixth position is filled up by a particular player's piece, then it's a win for that player. And simply for all these 8 positions. So I hope you have understood what I'm trying to say. So now let's try to check the wins. So what I will do is I will iterate over this big list, so I can get one list in each iteration. So let's add for I in winning position. So what is the value of this I? This I is holding the value of each of these lists, and now what I want to do is that I want each value inside that list. So to do that, let me make 3 variables. Let's name these variables v1, v2, v3, and this will equals to, since because you know I is equal to this, so to get 1 here, so we will refer I at the index value 0, comma, and v2 will be I at the index value 1, and v3 will be I at the index value 2. So now this v1 is referring to 1 in the first iteration, 4 in the second iteration, and 7 in the third iteration, and etc. And this v2 is referring to 2, 5, and 8 in different iteration, and this v3 is referring to 3, 6, and 9 over the iterations. So we have got each separate values, and now what I want to do is I want to check that whether these positions are filled by a particular piece. So to do that, first of all I will add a statement if board at the index value v1 is equal to, first I will check for x, so I've entered x, and board at the index value v2 equal to x, and board at the index value v3 equal to x. So what this statement is doing is that it is checking that whether board at the position v1 is filled by x, and board at the position v2 is also occupied by x, and board at the position v3 is also occupied by x. And if this is true, then it means that x has won. So we'll show the board if x is 1, and then we will print a message to the user. So we will print x won the game, and then we will quit out of the game. And let's copy this code, copy, and let's paste this here. Wait, copy this again and paste it here. And now I will replace this x to O. I am replacing this x to O so that it can check for both the players x and O. And if O will won, it will show message O won the game after showing the board. And now our check win method is also completed, so it has also been called in the game loop. So let's run it, zoom it a bit, and let's try to make x win the game. So it's at not there, here. Let's try to make x win the game, and it is not showing us that x won the game. So there is a problem in our code. So what's the problem here? And the problem is that in the winning position list we are referencing the first position as 1 and the second position as 2 and in the third position as 3, but here we are assigning the values as the same, but in the indexing number, since we are providing these v1, v2 and v3 here, so here we will have to provide -1 value. So let's say -1 here and -1 here also. Instead of adding -1 here, here 6 times, we can add -1 here. So let's add -1 here, and for v2 also it will be -1, and v3 it will also be -1. Now it should work. It's asking us for input. Let's try to make x win the game. Here, and it shows us x won the game. So now our game is completed, and it's in about only 50 lines. It's just a game loop that is getting out, so it's not more than 60 lines. So yeah, our game is completed.
If you find this video helpful, then don't forget to like the video, and if you have any doubts, then you can comment down below. I will surely reply to all your comments. And thank you for watching the video.